everybody, and thanks for joining me today. So, more work. I'm gonna get more vines and flowers today, I think, instead of wall, since they're covering up the wall. I have finally reached 23% total, so yeah. That's what I was hoping to reach at the end of last month, but unfortunately that just did not happen. And I've been saying 25% by the end of this month, but we will see. Yeah. I may just stop making estimates entirely because I haven't been very accurate lately. Yeah. Things have just been coming up. Yeah. Life throws things at you, and my estimates were basically, yeah, me if I had nothing else going on and I was just able to stitch all the time, but yeah, that's not how it always works out. So yeah, we're actually having a beautiful day outside. It's very cold wind, which I discovered when I went for my walk. Oh my goodness. Of course, the wind didn't really pick up till I was like halfway out, and then yeah, it's like, well, not much I can do about it now, but just pull my hood down to stay warm and head home. Yeah. Yeah, I said I think I burned some extra calories staying warm because, whoo, boy. Yeah, like the ambient temperature isn't that bad. It's just barely below freezing, which isn't bad for here because it's not very humid. But yeah, when that wind picks up, my gosh, whoo, chills you to the bone. So, but, well, I made it back, so it's all good. And I got my exercise in, so yeah. Oh. I have to start setting my alarm because my husband forgot to set his the other day, and then I looked at the clock and it was like, oh shoot, we should have got up like half an hour ago. Yeah. So yeah, I said I'm gonna have to start. I set mine as well, and that way at least one of them should work. Yeah, I technically actually have like an actual alarm clock on my nightstand, but I don't use it because I don't know, it's a real pain to set the time, and I just wanted it there so that I can see what time it is in the middle of the night without blinding myself by picking up my phone, right? Because even if the brightness is turned all the way down, yeah, it's still plenty bright enough when you're half asleep. So yeah, and then that way I don't have to change it because you don't always have to wake up at the same time. It depends when you've got to be places. So yeah, it was funny because I saw a video by a sleep expert talking about ways to deal with insomnia, and he said when you get up, if you wake up in the middle of the night, don't look at what time it is. I'm like, yeah, but how many of us are going to be able to actually do that? Because yeah, I said, well, I need to know, because if I wake up and I'm really hungry, but I'm going to be getting up in like an hour, I'll often just deal with it. But if I'm starving and it's the middle of the night, well, I'm not going to get any sleep until I deal with that problem. So yeah. And he said, like, a lot of people will think, well, I'm already awake, might as well use the bathroom, but that wakes you up more. But well, I don't know. I would hate to fall back asleep and then 20 minutes later wake up because I got to go to the bathroom anyway, right? So yeah. Yeah, and then he had one about breathing where he says you breathe in for a count, hold, and then breathe out for a longer count than you breathe in. That is supposed to make you sleepier, but I don't know. I tried it and it makes me feel panicky, so yeah. Yeah, I was having trouble because my doctor increased my dosage for my sleep med because it just was not doing it for me anymore after 11 years on the same dosage. So yeah, I finally kind of got used to it. And he increased it, but then it was almost like too much because I found it would relax my muscles so much that I'd snore and snore myself awake. So yeah, now I take 1.5. And then if I wake up at like 3 a.m. and can't go back to sleep, I take the other half. But if I don't, then bonus, right? So, yeah. that seems to have worked because, yeah, it helps me sleep, but it doesn't relax me so much that I start snoring and wake myself and my husband up. So, ugh. Yeah, he said I didn't used to snore, but I do now. But he's always snored somewhat. Yeah. Okay, 9:30. Looks like maybe I'll take, yeah, this one out onto my working tray too. Already got 9:30. Oh no, I thought it was 9:31. Doing. I already had that one out. I tell you, I have 9:30 and 9:32, and I was thinking it was 9:31, but no, I'm just not reading that right. So yeah, I did the math, and to reach a quarter done is just over 78,000 stitches. So we'll see, yeah, if I can manage that or not. Ooh. 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 So I may go a bit out of order or not, because I can see that this leaf or whatever here is kind of sloping that way, so I may decide to just follow that. I have done that before, or not. I'll kind of decide as I get there what it is I want to do. Yeah, like I said, it's windy. You could probably hear my kitchen vent covers flapping around. Yeah, fortunately, birds have gone south for the winter, so I don't have to deal with that guy trying to make a nest in there, because I haven't bothered to put some spikes out yet or a cage around it. But yeah, so far it's been fine. But yeah, we don't have any snow. There's a teeny little bit from a couple days ago, but like not even enough to cover the grass. So yeah, I am just fine with that. That's generally how it is for us. First few snowfalls are just a little dusting and they don't stick around. I was on iTunes this morning buying some music. I don't know how sometimes I go and I check and I miss an album that an artist that I like has had out for a while. Like, yeah, I found one this morning that was out in like 2018, and I don't know. I checked like last year and I missed it somehow. So yeah, but that's kind of like nice because woohoo, new music. I mean, at least new to me. So yeah. So maybe now I have 400 songs on my phone. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and I just remembered there was one I wanted to look for that I completely forgot. I'll have to do that later. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating too, because I have some songs from CDs that I didn't digitize. And now, of course, my computer doesn't come with a CD drive anymore, right? That's not really a standard thing. And my husband has a disc reader, but I don't know where it is. Because, yeah, I had people saying they were complaining about having to restart their music collection, when everything became digital. And I'm like, okay, but if you own the CD, if you bought it, you're allowed to rip it onto your computer, into your iTunes. It's yours, right? As long as you're not distributing it to other people, it's okay, because you already paid for it, when you bought the CD. But yeah, people didn't want to do that. I'm like, okay, but a card reader is like, what, $20? Like, it's not that much, and I think that's way better deal than buying all your music again. Though, of course, the only drawback they said is, that's true, it is, if it is on your computer and you didn't buy it through iTunes, then you can't access it online. Yeah, I was kind of curious to see if there was a way you could do that, because stuff that I bought through iTunes, of course, I can connect to it from any of my devices and download it on there, right? Because it's all connected to my same account. But if it's stuff that I took off the CDs I own and put in iTunes, it's not there. You have to, you know, actually plug it into your computer and transfer it over. And I tried to look if there was a way, but yeah, there didn't seem to be a way. Or if they did, it was like really expensive and I'd have to pay like a cloud service every month. And I'm like, yeah, forget it. I already paid for it. I am not paying for it again. You know, I already paid for the song. That's why I don't do the streaming music that you pay for with a monthly fee. No, I'd rather pay for the song once and then I don't have to keep paying for listening to it. Yeah. Yeah, why I still like to buy movies on DVD or Blu-ray to have an actual physical copy. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I did the same thing with books. I do like ebooks now, but I had one where I had bought this book that was out of print for years, and I bought it in print. I found it online. And then years later, they made it available on Kindle, and it was even free. So, of course, I downloaded a copy because it was a book I had enjoyed and would want to read again. Then I was thinking, I could get rid of these physical copies, and then paranoid me was like, yeah, but like, if there's ever a catastrophic, like, server failure, all your stuff will be gone, right? That's digital. And so I just went, nah, I'm going to hang on to these. It was only like 4 books anyway, like 4 mass market paperbacks, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. And when I bought them, they were out of print, and so I mean, I paid like $20, over $20 for each of them because in Canada, shipping fees are expensive. Yeah. And, you know, I was buying it from often out of the country and then having it imported. And yeah, I'm like, no, I paid too much for these that, yeah, I'm just going to hang on to them. Although some of these older books too, I find they scanned them in and nobody went to proofread them. And so sometimes they have very weird typos because of, depending on what the font was used when the book was originally published, sometimes the data reader cannot read it properly. And yeah. Like if you have an R and an M next to each other, it can think that it's actually like an N and a U and stuff like that. Yeah. And so there's a few times I was reading an older book and I had to sit there going, you know, what were they trying to say? Because yeah, what they actually said, it was a word, but it didn't make sense in the context of the sentence. And then I had to figure out, oh, I bet because of the font, it thought this letter was another letter. Yeah. And nobody actually went through it because they said, yeah, these optical data readers, they will do that for a lot of out-of-print books and they don't bother to have anybody double check them. They said the only drawback too is with those, you actually have to destroy the paper copy. They have to slice the spine right off and then have the whole thing scan so that it can pull each individual page through the scanner. So yeah, that's another one that's kind of like, ooh, right? Yeah. I love books and the idea of cutting one up like that is just, oi. Like, yeah, I saw one where somebody had done one of those art things where it showed they took a hardcover book and they like cut the pages out and made it into like a little purse, which looked kind of cool. But I'm like, but they wrecked the book. Like, ouch, that just hurts me, you know? Like, yeah, I'm someone who didn't dog-ear books. I hate when people break the spines and bend them backwards. Like, I was very particular about who I loaned my books to, and it would only be to other people I knew respected books because, yeah, it just bugged me so much. Yeah, because there was someone who said they loaned a book to somebody and the person read it in the bathtub and like dropped it in the bathtub and just returned it to them like that, like, you know, pages all wrinkled and stuff. And it's like, oh. Like I said, there's a couple times I read books in the bathtub, but like they were really lousy copies that like the library had discarded and they were already falling apart. So I didn't really care. Like they were already wrecked. But yeah, I would never ever do that to a book somebody loaned me. I mean, it's their property, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't do that to books that are my own if they're in good shape. I would definitely not do that to, yeah, a book somebody else loaned me. Yeah, it's funny though. I was complaining to my husband the other day how I said, I just can't read like I used to. I manage about 50 books a year. My goal is always 52, which is 1 book a week. He's like, that's still fast. Because, yeah, he takes like a month to read a book. So, yeah, to him, that's really fast. I'm like, yeah, but I used to read 3 a week. You know, I read 150 a year, sometimes more. And I just can't do that anymore. Yeah. And that was just reading. Like, I didn't do audio at all. And I've started doing that more. Sort of when I run out of podcasts and I'm out on my walk, I will use my Kindle's accessibility so it can read the phone, or it can read the book to you. And it's not perfect, but it works. Yeah, you go under accessibility, and I think it's under speak screen. This is for iPhone. I don't know about other phones, but I'm sure you could look it up because, yeah, you can get it to read to you. And occasionally it will spell out the word if it doesn't know what it is. Like I remember instead of Mrs., it would say MRS. And sometimes I'm like, what? And then, but it's good enough that I could figure out what it meant. So, yeah. And yeah, people give you weird looks if you're reading while you're walking. Although I said it's funny because if you read a book while you're walking, people will give you weird looks. But if you are looking at your phone while you're walking, people don't. I'm like, what's the difference? But yeah, I mean, okay, we got a bit of a tangle here. That's okay. I'm just gonna untangle this. Sometimes that happens. So just take the needles off and this very carefully work these apart. There we go. Yeah. Generally doesn't happen, but occasionally it does. That is one of the drawbacks of stitching this way. So, you have to decide whether you feel the benefits are worth it. For me, I do. Yeah, it's nice too because I can't read in a car. I get motion sick, but I can listen. So, yeah. And I can turn the speed up so I can listen faster. Yeah, I find my mind wanders if it's too slow. If it's faster, it forces me to pay attention. And when I read print, like text myself, I read really fast. I always have. It's just yeah. In fact, I had trouble when I was a kid because they would have us practice reading out loud, and I would try to read like as fast as I could read in my head, and that's way too fast, right? For people to understand that. It took me a while to learn to slow it down. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of those things I was just born with. And really good reading retention comprehension. I remember when I was like in 5th grade or something, and they had us read this short story from our reader textbook, and then we were going to have a test on it. And I was done in 10 minutes, and I closed it, and I'm sitting there, and the guy next to me is like, you didn't read all that fast. I'm like, yeah, I did. And he didn't believe me. And then we did the test, and I completely aced it. And it was a closed book test. He's like, oh, I guess you did read it. I remember someone saying they did this course that would teach you how to read faster. And it did, but they said that they didn't have the same emotional connection to the story when they read super fast. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting. So, because I remember there was a thing in late 80s or early 90s. Speed reading became this big thing that this guy would do demonstrations on TV where they would show him basically going through a book in a minute or two and then answering questions on it. And he would say he'd never read the book before. But I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it could have all been a setup. We don't know for sure. But yeah. Okay, 794, which I do not have out. Yeah, it's funny saying about stuff I owned, it's not, accessible from other devices on iTunes. I actually had some songs I liked so much that I did rebuy them just so I could do that. Or it was because, I discovered Josh Groban because my husband bought a computer from a coworker and they had left all their music on it. And yeah, that's how I discovered it and ended up liking it so much that I actually bought the albums outright. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I'm old enough to remember Napster, which was people were pirating music from downloading it online, and people were really concerned, but they said actually sales went up. So, yeah, go figure, right? Not that I'm endorsing pirating, because I'm not. Don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, that was, although they said, yeah, that was in the days of dial-up, so downloading a song took, hours all day, and then if it was on dial-up and someone didn't know and they picked up the phone and interrupted it, that was it, right? You had to start all over again. Oh, yeah, it's wild. Yeah, streaming was not a thing because internet connections were not fast enough. Yeah, so like my generation is sort of one of the last ones to remember before we all had a computer in our pocket all the time. Yeah, we grew up using card catalogs and stuff. Yeah, I told my kid I'm older than Google, and he's like, really? Because, yeah, to him, it's just been a part of life, right? It's always been around. Yeah, so there was no way to verify things. So, you would hear something that was a rumor, an old wives' tale, and you would believe it for years. Yeah, because there was just no way to fact check it. Okay, so more purple showing up here as we do more flowers. Yeah. Oh, and then some leaves again here. And then I think there's going to be, yeah, more wall underneath, back to some more yellow and pink down there. Further down the design. Yeah, or telling her kiddo you had to buy an entire album for one song. And sometimes, it was that single you heard on the radio, like none of the rest of the artist's music sounded similar, so you ended up with an album that you only liked that one song. And then sometimes, too, what you heard on the radio and what was on the CD were like totally different. Yeah. So then you really felt like you were ripped off. You spent $18 for a song and it wasn't even the song you thought you were buying. I remember, I think it was HMV, but it was one of the record stores actually came out with this, new technology where you could take any album up to one of their stations and scan the barcode and listen to a preview of what it sounded like, so that at least that way you didn't get, tricked, because, sometimes, like I said, they were completely different. And you couldn't buy the radio edit either. Which, I found really frustrating. Like, I mean, if you're going to have two versions, I think you should have the ability to buy the one you hear on the radio too, you know. Yeah, or sometimes you could get the radio version, but only if you bought like a compilation CD that was like, you know, today's biggest hits or whatever, right? And then you could get the radio edits. But then, of course, sometimes it came with a lot of stuff that just wasn't your taste. Yeah. Sometimes, though, it did help you to discover people you might not have tried before. So there was that. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like I like to read a lot of anthologies because sometimes it's nice to just read a shorter story. And also, yeah, it can give you a chance to try new authors. I've discovered a few authors I liked that way because, especially, I love Christmas, and Christmas anthologies are a big thing in the romance genre. And so, yeah, I would discover a lot of authors that way. Even big name ones, but yeah, ones that I had never tried. Would have never picked up one of their novels and tried it, but yeah, it was in the book I'd already bought, so why not? Yeah, it was interesting because I saw one of my friends posted this meme saying, you know, what is one album you could listen to straight through, no skipping over any tracks or anything? And I'm going, I don't know if I have one. I'm very picky. Yeah. And it's funny because somebody said it's hard to describe my music tastes to people because I like everything except for what I don't like. You know, like I said, I'll listen to almost any genre if I like the song. So it's kind of hard to narrow it down. Yeah. But yeah, if it's got a good beat and it gets me singing along, you know, I'll listen to it. So yeah, I said it's kind of funny because if I put my music on shuffle, it'll go from heavy metal to opera. Oh. Okay, so I think I may just cut this off here for now and fill in carrying upwards before I fill in more further down this pass across. So trying not to have too many live needles at once. Yeah, we get tangles like you saw before. So, and like I said, I may start to slope out to the right rather than filling in everything above it. I used to be really concerned with being more orderly and just working my way down, but I'm not so much anymore. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put that right there. And then that one is going to carry downwards. I'll have a different thread for the stitches that are over to the right. Okay. Just going to check different lengths here. That's pretty long. Another one of the same color here. Oh, they're both fairly decent length. So, okay. Okay, so we're going to go up here. Yeah, this is sort of where this leaf curves around, and I think I'm going to follow it because there's more wall colors here, but I don't really feel like working them right now. So in fact, I'm going to just grab those threads, set them all aside. Okay. Then I have fewer in this area to potentially get tangled up. Yeah, so I was saying it was cold out there, but when it's bright and sunny, that helps me a lot. I can stay inside where it's nice and warm, but have my drapes open and yeah, see that nice blue sky and the sun. Yeah, makes a big difference for my mood. Yeah, so I finally finished Supernatural. Yeah, it was good. A lot of people didn't like the ending. I remember when it came out in 2020, a lot of people were really upset, but so I was a little nervous watching it because I didn't know how it ended. I just knew a lot of people didn't like it, and but I didn't want to spoil it for myself, right? So I was kind of anxious the whole way through that I would hate it, but actually no, it worked fine for me. So the only thing that kind of sucked was, yeah, it was filmed in 2020. And so they said they wanted to do sort of this big reunion scene with like everybody they had lost over the years. And they couldn't because, yeah, at the time you would have to do quarantine for 2 weeks and yeah, quarantine for like 2 weeks after. And it would have been such a huge disruption for people to show up just for a few seconds of, yeah. So unfortunately they had to scrap it, which I can understand people were kind of upset about that. It was kind of a little bare bones, but it worked for me. So I felt it was true to the characters. I mean, it was, I'm not going to give away any spoilers in case you haven't seen it, but I mean, it was the way I kind of always figured it would end. So yeah. Yeah, I said I'm weird like that. I said I know people hated the Game of Thrones ending, but it worked for me. So. And again, I was pretty nervous watching it, but because we didn't watch it when it first aired, we were cheap and we didn't want to pay for HBO. And so far we had really liked it, so we had bought every episode on DVD anyway, so we were just waiting for it to come out. And then we sat down and watched the whole thing again, like from the very beginning all the way to the end. Because I mean, by that time, right, you're waiting a year between seasons, you forget stuff. So yeah. And but yeah, we enjoyed it. So it wasn't for everyone. And I'm not going to tell people they're wrong. You know, that's one thing that annoys me so much. It's like, if you disagree with someone, they're like, well, you didn't understand it. It's like, no, it's possible for me to just have felt a different way about it than you. Neither of us has to be right or wrong, right? Like I said, life would be boring if we all felt the same. I've had stuff that I watched that I just went, well, this sucked. You know, I don't think this was true to the characters at all. And people will be like, really? It worked for me. So I'm not going to tell them they're wrong, right? It was interesting, too, because they said authors will often do that. And there was one podcaster I was listening to who said basically, yeah, once you've released a story onto the world, it's not yours anymore, right? It belongs to everyone who consumes it in some way, right? And yes, you can think this is what I was trying to portray, and the person reading or watching it can be like, yeah, I didn't get that at all, you know? And that's just the way it works. We all bring our own biases and stuff too. Yeah. And one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? Yeah, and so, yeah, it kind of annoys me because I said, yeah, we can disagree, but it's a matter of opinion, right? Yeah. It's not like we're discussing is water wet, right? Yeah, like I remember watched Grey's, and the way they wrote one character out of the show, I felt just destroyed all the character development that that person had gone through for like 15 years, and I was really mad. But I had other people who were like, no, it worked, you know, for me. And I'm just like, okay, well, I disagree with you, but, you know, to each their own. I'm not going to say, well, therefore you're wrong, because, I mean, who's to say, right? Yeah. Like, that was one thing that kind of annoyed me in English class when I was a kid. And they would tell you, you know, this is the only interpretation. And I'm going, but that's not how art works, though, right? Like, yeah, I think we each get something different out of it, and that's okay. Oh, just like I had with stitching people. Why do you stitch that way? That's the wrong way. And I'm going, well, no, it's my way, you know, and it may not be right for you. Now, if it's falling apart at the end or something, or you got, you know, big loose loops of stitches that you didn't want, then yeah. But I mean, if you're happy with the end result and it looks the same in the end, who's to say what's right or wrong? Just do it your way. Yeah, some people keep a super neat back. Some people couldn't care less, you know. They're saying as long as it doesn't interfere with how the front looks, then that's just fine. Yeah, although it was funny because I was saying about Supernatural. They said Misha, who played Castiel, was originally cast to play like 4 episodes or something. And of course, he ended up being there until the end of the show, right? And he said, man, if he'd known, because his character speaks in this kind of low, more rumbly voice than his natural voice. And he said, yeah, if I'd known, I would not have done that, because he said it hurts his throat to do long term, and he ended up stuck doing it for like 11 years. Like, oops. And I said, I remember a similar thing watching behind the scenes on that 70s show where Deborah Jo, who plays Kitty, said they did this line in the beginning, and she does that funny, you know, the trademark laugh that she does, right? It wasn't scripted. And they liked it so much that they kept it as a character thing. And she said, yeah, you know, they cut the line that came before the laugh and they kept the laugh. And she said, and if I'd known I'd be stuck doing that laugh for 8 years, I never would have done it. Oh. Yeah, it's interesting how much actors can add to the character sometimes. Yeah, just something that wasn't scripted, but it worked, and they kept it, and it sort of became a, yeah. I mean, try to imagine, if you watch that show, try to imagine Kitty without the laugh now. You just can't, right? It's just synonymous with her character. So yeah, so you can see the colors of this leaf are gonna kind of go this way, and I think I'm just gonna follow it rather than fight it. Yeah, because sort of these colors are going more into the wall, and I'm not going to worry about them so much right now. So like I said, there'll be some closing in, but it's only a little bit. And I'm still growing out from the edge and trying not to skip and leave a lot of gaps. So I don't mind if it kind of sometimes slopes the other way, and we'll eventually close in a little bit. That's just my way. Yeah, I've seen some people who they go row by row and they never deviate, but I do not have the I do not have the discipline for that. Right, I have 2 threads of this, but I did that on purpose so that I can do things mostly in order and not close any stitches in. one there. I think I have a short piece. Yes, perfect. Just to do those two there. I'm gonna have to move this frame at least one more time to fill in. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pretty much full columns left, plus a little bit here. So yeah, like it does fit in my frame, but I don't like reaching that far over with my top arm. It really mucks up my back. So, and neck, yeah. It has been much better since I did the acupuncture treatments, but yeah, I am still always careful with the way I move because, yeah, as I've learned the hard way in the past, one wrong movement could put me out for days. So far, I haven't had that since I finished my acupuncture treatments. I had like a couple small little flare-ups where it hurt for a day or two, but I didn't even need to take painkillers. It was manageable with like heating pads and muscle rub and stuff, but yeah, still gonna be careful. Yeah, moving the wrong way and having pain just explode up your neck is not an experience you're eager to ever repeat. Okay, I think I will do this one stitch here out of order. I could technically do them all in order, but I'm going to be a bit lazy. I don't feel like dropping needles and changing colors that much to avoid that one stitch, so. Oh goodness, pardon me. Hey, you'd think I'd feel more more rested since I overslept, but no. Ugh. Yeah, again. So I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. So this one stitch ends up a little closed in, but oh well. over into the corner a bit and work my way out again. Let's see if I can get that. Yep. Able to get that to come out. Ooh, wrong mode there. Yeah, I may even end up with a third thread of this color. We shall see. Yeah, that is a really short piece. Just enough. I apologize if that vent is distracting you. It's very windy. color. It's a very pretty blue. It's one of the ones that's used on his head and chest and neck a lot. Not so much over here, but and this time I'm actually going to do the work of doing them all in order. So, yeah, sometimes it just depends on my mood. That did not catch enough threads. I could feel, yeah, there wasn't, there we go. Yeah, there wasn't enough resistance on the needle when I was pushing it through. That means it has not caught enough threads to be secure. Okay, so let's take a look what we've got here. Yeah, that's somewhat longer piece, so yeah, I may do some stuff out of order again. Trying to decide what I want to do here. Or not. Okay. Yeah, I think I will just do some out of order because otherwise I'm going to have to get a whole bunch of other threads going with needles on them, and I don't feel like doing that right now. So yeah, so I don't normally do this, but sometimes it just works out that way, especially when it's sort of, this color is going the opposite way that I normally slope my diagonals. So yeah, with the way the threads are crossing past each other, it's just a lot of work to avoid doing stuff out of order. So sometimes I will just do that. And then, yeah, once I filled in around it, you'll never know anyway. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I end up stitching a bit more cross country than I normally do. Yeah, this is a bit further than I'd want to carry, so I'm going to tie this off and I'll add a new strand when I get to that color over there. Soon I will have this filled in. You will no longer be able to see that I went out of order. Is there not there? No, okay. Almost felt like there was, but I guess there's just a lot of threads. Yeah, because there's so many colors here. Nope. Just trying to form a knot now, though. Okie doke. Although, of course, I am going out of order a little bit that way, because I'm following the shape of this leaf or whatever it is. Oh, that didn't look right, yeah. There we go. It didn't come down quite straight, so it can't disappear into the fabric properly if it doesn't. My gosh. Sorry, y'all. I didn't realize that it was going to be that loud in the background. It's not intentional. Okay, I did all that just so I can fill all this in. Let's see if this thread is long enough or not. Yeah, it's going to be a tight squeeze. Well, I think this will be just enough. Oh yeah, perfect. I don't think I could have measured that better if I tried. Sweet. And yes, I was thinking that's going to be exactly 200 completed, which I think is the perfect place to take a break. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you here next time. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.